For this conversation, I'm joined by Christel Rosenkilde Christensen, all the way from Denmark, and she is a conscious leader expert and psychic advisor for conscious leaders all around the world in 20 countries. Isn't that right, Christel?
Yes, thank you so much for having me here. It's always exciting to talk to you about our favorite topics in the world.
The one thing that I've been talking about so much lately is Gen Z, which is the children born from 2000 on, and the fact that they are entirely innately wired differently to those of us born before then. So we were having a conversation about it, and you had some extraordinary insights, and having a child yourself born in this period, you've made some observations and also have some intuitive insights. So that's what I'm hoping we can discuss, because I feel like every mother or every parent of children who are born in this time will absolutely recognize what we're talking about. You can't not see that they are different to us as people, as parents, as the way our children in our lives have appeared. So it's a magical topic, and I feel like the children, or they're not even children so much anymore, they're already young people coming in and doing things in our world, but they're phenomenal. Not as with often how it goes with a generation gap, where there's a bit of resistance from the generations before. So I'm hoping that by our conversations and really showcasing the great bits about them, we'll be able to help everyone understand how to deal with their children or grandchildren, and from your perspective, how these people need to rise up to be very conscious to stay relevant within the leadership circles.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I guess I can go ahead and explain the difference, and then I would love for your input and what you've recognized within your clients and within your daughter. So the basic difference is, if we just dumb it down to energies that are within our psyche or within our inherent character, within our personalities, with those of us born before the year 2000 and for the 100 years prior to that, we were born in the 1900s. So it meant that every single one of us had 1 energy and 9 energy in our blueprinted character. Some of us had 2 energy. They're all very different. So 1 energy is about me. It's about doing energy. It's taking action. It's an ego energy, actually, but we all had it. The 9 energy is the thinking energy. So it gives us this ability to discern and put together a plan, follow through with it. By those 2 numbers, we naturally can do that with a certain amount of ease, even if it's not our forte. Whereas the 2 energy, which every single child born from 2000 on has, that energy is intuitive energy, it's kind energy, it's very heart-driven and feeling-centered. So what's happening with these young people is they're all imprinted with this natural innate kindness, intuitiveness, and what that means is they can read people. So while some people might feel that it's a problem not to have doing and thinking energy, it doesn't mean that they can't do things or think. They can, but what they do is they're led by their feeling, whether it's the right thing to do, is it the wrong thing to do, does it make sense to do it? So this is the baseline of the way that they will lead their lives. And I think it's super exciting for what will transpire. And maybe maybe one point to point out, particularly for businesses that will need to keep up with who they're marketing to actually, is these young people, they will not do it just because we said that's the way it should be done, or how we were taught this is the right thing to do. That doesn't work with them. If it feels right, they're following it. If it doesn't, then they're not. So they come from a very different worldview, really. And I guess it seems quite obvious, and I know you'll be able to elaborate on how leadership has to change to reach them, because as time goes, and we know how quickly it goes, they will soon be in positions of power to change humanity and change the way that we do business, change our governments, change everything. So I'm going over to you now. Tell me your observations and how you've seen this affecting the leadership circles around the globe.
Yeah, thank you so much for explaining this, Toni, because I think it's important for everybody to understand this shift. And of course, as a mother, it has been greatly helpful for me, of course, intuitively observe what my daughter's need was, but talking to you about this more explicitly, explained with, you know, her blueprint within and what happens in this new generation, it's really helped me and opened my eyes to affirm my intuition, but also just to change a few things being with her. And in the, like, you talking about, you know, also the businesses and leadership, because at the moment, yes, we are marketing this young generation, but they're actually not that young any longer, because they're going to be a part of the workforce really soon or have already entered it. And due to the technological age that we are, the technological transformation that we're in, and it's exponentially changing how we can use technology. And when also now that we're using AI more and more, this new generation is coming in and understanding these things. It's been a part of them growing up with iPads in their hands and technology being a part of everything that they are. So they're entering this workforce with a completely different understanding, whereas I'm 42, Toni, and I'm already feeling a bit behind in the understanding of, you know, how to use technology. So them coming in, they need our guidance. They need leaders who can guide them and show them the way of how to apply what they already know into business. But if we don't engage with them on an emotional level and have respect for what they feel, there'll be a disrespect. And leaders, if they don't have the understanding of what you are sharing with us, then they will lack and they will feel disrespected. So we have two generations feeling disrespect from each other and towards each other. And the new generation don't need the corporate world. They don't need the structures, because they are not, like, they don't have the same authority, like, they don't respect authorities as much as we did, and we needed to, you know, as you were saying, the ones and the nine, intuitively, when I tap into it, it's also about following a structure, being within, you know, understanding how to fit into a certain structure, but they don't do that. So they only follow us if we give them a reason to. So if they don't feel it, that we truly want to change something for the better, and if they don't feel that we are wanting to understand not only them, but how the world works and how we can contribute in it, we will see a completely new subculture of little businesses and new structures that can become big, actually working not against us, but just not with us. So we will lose out as leaders and this older generation, and we have a lot of wisdom. All of my clients, they are exceptional conscious people. And that's why I see that we more than ever need to be aware of what you're saying. And a last thing, I know we have a lot to say, but the last thing that comes to mind when you're talking is also how it's not only the young people that are changing, but we are in this new energy, in the two energy, as you were saying. That also means that we are suddenly experiencing a different trigger, a different reaction to things around us. So the past 20 years, we've seen a lot of people feeling stressed, and especially in Scandinavia and in the Western world. I don't know so much about these numbers in the Eastern world, but I do know that so many people are falling ill with stress-related illnesses or mental illness from stress relations. And the way I see it is that we're suddenly faced with a different energy, and we react differently to things. And we were used to being able to work differently, but now we need to change our ways. So it's not only just for the new generation coming up, and it's not also for us to understand them, but it's also for us to have a new understanding for ourselves and change our practices and change our ways. That's also why I fight for conscious leadership out there, because if we don't, within the next 10 years, there's going to happen an exponential change. And if leaders and people in general don't have the opportunity to become more conscious and apply conscious practices into their leadership, we're going to see a massive disconnect. And so it's definitely an important topic you're bringing up and have been talking about for such a long time, Toni. So I'm just happy to be invited in to talk to you about this topic. Yeah,
it's such a pivotal time in humanity, isn't it? There's no turning back from here. And I mean, we've been working towards it for quite some time now, but it's not overnight, but it feels like overnight the shift is like here. You can feel it's different. And I think for the traditional ways, the traditional structured ways that we did business, if they don't adapt, they will crumble. So I'm sure that it's a gift for them to have you working. The companies who would engage you will be the ones that can stay, or that will stay, because if they don't have conscious people at the helm, I just don't think that they will be able to remain in the same place, because things have changed that much and they will continue to. So that adaptation is critical to remain relevant. Yes. And one of the other things that I thought of as you were talking was that these children or these young people, something that they have that is extraordinary to see, they're emotionally intelligent very young. This made me think of it when you talked about AI becoming so prevalent. And I remember thinking to myself years ago, how's that going to work? Because how can they program emotion into something that's programmed? But as it turns out, as the AI comes in, the people don't need any help with the emotions because they have it. It's inherent in them. It's wired in them. They're born with it, that emotional intelligence. So the AI is an absolute in unison, I suppose. Whereas it was so different for the generations before, where we later in life became emotionally intelligent, because for us it was difficult to be vulnerable, or it was difficult to show feelings. Perhaps for a lot of us we had to hide them. You weren't to be emotional at work, you weren't to show what's going on at home, at work, all of these things that played out for so long. And now it's the opposite. So it's an intriguing time. But I guess that gives some insight to how much these leaders that you work with have to adapt.
Absolutely. And, even just center it around themselves for first, to be able to constantly be on the top of their game and stay relevant and use and apply their intuition in a new and in an elite way, because they need to step up their game and engage from a place of integrity, from a place of being tuned in with that of which is greater than themselves, being able to, they have to be centered to truly feel what's right and wrong. If we're too stressed, if we are not in tune with our emotions, we come from a place of short-term thinking. And as much as all companies at the moment pride themselves of long-term thinking, every time you talk about how to spend their money, how to invest on people, and how to look, they're like, yeah, but we don't have budget for this year. However, the resources, the most important resources that's gonna give them long-term success is what they have. Some people, let me be, now I'm generalizing, but it's just, we need to be centered. The most conscious leaders I know, they are long-term thinking. I have a client who, in their company, any decision that does not benefit life and their stakeholders in at minimum of 100 years moving forward are not allowed to be applied in the business. So, it's very, these things you can apply consciousness. Once you're in tune, once you can listen to what you truly know is true, you can guide people from a different place, and you yourself become more happy, you yourself become more passionate, and you just have new energy. So whether they are, almost thinking of retire, or whether we are in our ages still as a leader, it's about, generating a new energy and engaging in the responsibility of taking care of future generations. Because that is the critical point right now, is do we want to earn respect for the new generations growing up? Or do we want to, they will revolt, they will go out on the streets, they will be rioting against, they see that the world that we have built and how our choices and decision making, what we do now, what that will do with the consequences it has on their future. They are so aware and they don't compromise. So it's extremely important to listen to them. But before we can listen to other people, we need to center ourselves and become more aware beings, more conscious leaders. Because once we are, then we can listen. And I think that is where, from my perspective, it's crucial. And, the more I hear you talk, and with your expertise around this Gen Z generation and your observations around people and where we're coming from with the blueprint from within, the more I listen to you, the more I get empowered and I get on fire, because I truly want people to understand your message, because it's so important and so relevant, both for those who still have, we still have time to serve in our leadership, and for those who are growing up to either feeling disrespected and suppressed, or feeling nurtured and empowered, so we can co-create a better world together, without the big clash first and then having to rebuild, but into a flow of a better world together.
Yes, indeed. And what a wonderful world it's going to be when our schooling systems and our teachers and our degrees incorporate this information, so that we can evolve more easily and more in unison, instead of at loggerheads with these magical young people, with our future leaders and parents, our future politicians, our future caregivers. They're our future. And the more that we can understand them and relate to them, the easier it's going to be.
And it's not easy, I have meditated since I was 11 or 12, and I have engaged in conscious expansion practices since I was in my teens. I've worked with conscious leadership for now almost 2 decades, such as yourself with your work. And then I had my child, and her growing up, I remember her being around 1 year. She could stand up, she couldn't walk, so around 1 year, and she reached out for a plant, and she wanted to tug on its leaves, and I took her hand away and I said, no, And she instantly taught me. She took my hand and she was like, blah, 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 blah. And then she pointed to the plant again and she touched the plant and she didn't tear it apart. She wanted to touch it. There was something she wanted to experience. And she told me off from taking her hand away from the plant. That's the first teaching experience that I had remembering with her. And now I've had hundreds and thousands. You know, if I'm a bit stressed, she's like, you know what, Mom? You're stressed right now, and that is stressing me. And I'm like, okay, let's take a deep breath. I apologize for me stressing, but I need you to listen to me and I need you to follow my guidance so we can get out the door and get to kindergarten so I can have my meeting really soon. And then we kind of have this connection where she understands me and I'm more, you know, gentle with her. Like she really tells me what she needs. And the more I listen, the more flow there is and the more happy both of us are. But most importantly, the more I see her flourish and grow. So every time I'm trying with my mind and with my actions, as you said, the 1-9, I'm born in the 19th. So the more I only apply, now we have to do this because of this and this and that. No, now I have to create an environment and a feeling of joy and feeling connected. And once we are, you know, she doesn't care as long as she feels good. Yes. So that is where I think, and it's not feeling good of a feeling luxury, comfortable, feeling spoiled. That's not it. That's not what she's asking for. It's about being in the moment and, you know, working from the heart and truly being heart-centered. Yes, and yes. So I think that is my experience with her, that I'm growing with it every day because I was raised in a different world. I was taught in a different world. And now I'm concerned with what you're saying is so crucial. I'm soon to let her into the school system. And I need the school system to be ready for her. I don't want her to be squished, suppressed, or feeling unfit to be anywhere because she can't wait to do homework. She's practicing homework. She's writing. She's not even 4. She can write her name and writing letters. She's excited to learn. So I'm hoping to somewhere in the world find the perfect school for her where she'll be seen from the perspective that you're talking about. I wish you would be taken in to create teaching systems all over the world because we need you. We need your knowledge because it's so important. Also for the teachers, because otherwise the teachers feel wrong. You know, they will feel that they are not capable, which they are if they just turn their mindset around to they have a different species in their hands here. So if they are helped by somebody like you and the government's hiring them and employing them to bring people like you in to teach them differently, that would make a massive difference. So they are happy and motivated while our children are taught in a proper way.
Yes, or just in a way that's in unison with them. But as you say, if there's no understanding of it, then everybody's frustrated. And that's just uncomfortable. It's just uncomfortable. And also because the children are sensitive. And as Chloe straight by saying to you, Mom, because you're stressed, I feel stressed. That's exactly what they're like. They're picking up on everything that's going on around them. And that can sometimes appear as over anxious in our young people, when if we can stop and really look at what's going on, it's most likely not coming from them. It's that they're picking up on all the vibrations around them. And so these are really interesting, very important things that we need to be talking about so people are understanding what's going on with these kids and anxiety, and also the lots going on around mental health, which is often very misunderstood as well and tried to be dealt with in the way that it used to, but it's really misunderstood and often misdiagnosed. Whereas if we can just help everybody around, so even our generations, understand these young people and also help the young people understand themselves so that we can bridge the gap bridge the gap between these generations with more ease, because you said something before, they're like a new species, but actually this time that we're going into now, at the time in humanity, it really is an entirely new time, a new generation, a new era. It's more than a new era.
And I know this may feel a bit abstract for some people, and I'm not an expert in astrology, but in the astrological world, they say that the past 2000 years was the age of Pisces, which was building structures and creating a society from unison, from a structural perspective, and institutions and authorities driving the way for expansion and growth. Where now we're moving in and have moved in the age of Aquarius, which is 2,000 years, which is working from a space of ideals and creating a unity, not in separate silos, but, integrated world, where we are being impacted from our emotions and from an ethical standpoint and point of view, where we are truly engaging from wanting to create life and protect our world, our planet, and our people more as our little group of people, our nation, or our company. Now we're talking about something completely else, which is driven from our ideologies and values. And when what you were saying now, goes very well hand in hand, that all of us are feeling this massive shift because there are so many different reasons for why we are feeling it. And from just probably a very traditional point of view, the world is rapidly changing. And the pandemic that we are living in now gave us the opportunity to be locked down, to be put in our own spaces and breathe, and not being so blended with other people all the time. So we suddenly had a chance to reflect more and feel more, what life am I living and who am I serving? How are they treating me? How am I fitting into all of this? So we've seen a lot of people already leaving their jobs because they wanted to find a way to work from home more. They wanted to be more connected to their family, or they wanted to work and engage with an employer who took better care of them. So we're already seeing a massive shift in the world right now. And also, I can continue to go on, but I just think there's so many fascinating and positive things going on right now, where people some people get more opportunities, and due to the online teachings that we had in a very short time, where a lot of people worldwide realized they could work online. Also meant that a lot of women, especially, I did a speech in India for a big organization with 300,000 members. And before the pandemic, they were 15,000 members. And now they're 300,000 members with female entrepreneurs in the rural India, who suddenly got the opportunity to be a part of a bigger network, to develop themselves and grow and have the support to grow their businesses. So we see this around the world, where more people also have the opportunity now to be a part of something bigger. And for me, I hope we don't waste this opportunity, because if we listen to you, as long as we take care of people, of how they feel and how we can truly take care of them, the more cooperation we will see, and the more success and more happiness we'll feel ourselves. So, it's an extremely important topic you have been bringing up over the past years.
The Gen Z is here to, in a nutshell, create more connection, to follow through with more connection and more community-oriented unison. So it's really actually going to be bringing our lives back to a very simple existence. It will take time. It will take a lot of time, but that's what's happening. They're gradually bringing us back to a simpler life full of connection, where I suppose what matters is connecting with each other and those close to us, but those all around as well. having tolerance and understanding. So it's very exciting. So I know with my coaching, I teach people to be coaches so that they can coach these kids. But of course, what they're taught can go with anyone. But it's like, you either, ideally, you're going to become a coach, a SoulLife coach, or seek out to be coached. So you're going to learn to be a coach to coach the children or the young people or their parents or their teachers, so that everyone's, trying to just fit into life with much more ease. Yeah. So, Christel, thank you so much for talking about this and sharing your always incredible insights and vibrant, uplifting energy. So thank you. And I'm sure that we'll be getting on here again soon, talking about some other fabulous topic.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for doing your work and preparing, coaches and teachers, whoever willing to listen, to take care of this new generation. Because on this, and bringing the information that you're sharing right now is, to me, so important, because once we allow ourselves to be curious and try to understand this new generation growing up, the better tools we get as individuals as well to manage ourselves, to manage our, families and our businesses and nations. We get better tools to truly create something unique. And, we can never say better than where before, because it was meant to be how it was before. But it's co-creating a unique and better world. And so thank you so much as well for bringing me in and sharing your information with us all.
And thank you, Christel. And surely you're the perfect advisor for our leaders in top positions to ripple this down. And so thank you for the work that you do, bringing massive changes to our globe.
Thank you so much. We do our best.